Inside this courthouse, jurors continue their deliberations in the trial of Umar Zameer. They've been out since last night with still no sign of a verdict. Good evening. Those jurors have just come back to the court with a question for the presiding justice. It's the second time they've wanted more information on their options.
Zamir is charged with first-degree murder in the death of Toronto Police Constable Jeffrey Northrup. CTV's Janice Golding joins us live outside the court tonight with the very latest. Janice.
Hi, Michelle. Just a few minutes ago, jurors came back to the judge with two questions. One which the judge has acknowledged was a minor issue, just a typo. The other relating to self-defense and reasonable grounds and reasonable doubt, which the judge is addressing as we speak. Day two of deliberations began with Justice Anne Malloy clarifying a portion of the charge to jurors. The judge explaining they must consider three key questions. Did Umar Zameer have actual knowledge Constable Jeffrey Northrup was a police officer? Did he understand there was a risk Northrup was an officer but proceed notwithstanding that risk? Or did Zamir ignore indications Northrup was a police officer in an act of willful blindness?
The question for the jury here really is whether, in addition to being a tragic situation, what happened here is also a crime.
Zamir's lawyer called Northrup's death on July 2nd, 2021, a tragic accident. Zamir testifying he and his family were downtown for Canada Day and had just witnessed the aftermath of a stabbing when he was approached in the underground parking garage at City Hall. The Woodbridge accountant said he believed he, his pregnant wife, and their 2-year-old son were being attacked by robbers, not police officers in plain clothes.
The defense lawyer said that the jury shouldn't compound a tragic accident with an injustice. And so if the jury is with the defense, they may well conclude that Mr. Zamir was genuinely fearful for his safety and his family's safety and acquit him of all the charges.
The Crown, meanwhile, alleges Zamir made deliberate and dangerous maneuvers in his car while there were people nearby and drove directly at Northrup, who was standing at the time. A theory Justice Malloy questioned yesterday, saying there is no evidence that fully supports the Crown's theory. It is clear from the video that Officer Northrup was not standing upright in the laneway when he was knocked to the ground and run over, even though the 3 police witnesses all say that he was. Video and expert testimony showed that Zamir's car moved forward, was blocked by an unmarked police van, the BMW then sideswiping Northrup as it reversed, knocking him down into what one expert called a blind spot. Northrup was killed when the BMW accelerated over him. Photos of the BMW did not show any dents consistent with a head-on collision. Justice Malloy said all 3 officers would have to be wrong about this detail in exactly the same way for this theory to make sense. When 3 versions of the event are wrong, and wrong in the same way, you must also consider whether there has been collusion between those witnesses.
She expressed her concern about how all 3 of them got their evidence wrong in exactly the same way, and that the jury then should consider whether there was collusion amongst the officers who testified. That is extremely significant.
The jury has 4 options: first-degree murder, second-degree murder, manslaughter, or a finding of not guilty. Now, the court heard just a few minutes ago that the jury is coming quite close to coming to a decision. However, they have requested to stay in the hotel tonight, meaning deliberations will continue tomorrow. Reporting live, I'm Janice Golding. Now back to Michelle.
Thank you, Janice. York Regional Police are sharing dramatic footage of a violent attempted carjacking in Markham this month and some subsequent arrests. This first video is from Saturday, April 6th, near Yonge Street and Glen Cameron Road. Police say 2 suspects attempted to take an SUV from a couple in the parking lot, and after a struggle, they crashed into another vehicle. They fled in a white Acura driven by a 3rd suspect. Investigators say that getaway car was used afterwards in a separate carjacking in Toronto, but they eventually caught up with it a few days later.
And that's police using flashbangs as they boxed in that same allegedly stolen Acura on April 13th. The suspect then ran off. Investigators say they arrested 18-year-old Poshur Williams of Toronto, who was on a release order for unrelated charges, as well as 2 teenage boys ages 15 and 16. Police believe other suspects may be linked to the same criminal network, and they're asking anyone with information to get in touch.
Toronto police, meantime, are asking for your help in a sexual assault investigation in East York. On Tuesday afternoon, this man is accused of entering a residential building near Secord and Barrington Avenues and then following a victim out of the elevator before sexually assaulting them. If you recognize him, you're asked to call police or Crime Stoppers.
Hamilton police have laid a murder charge after a man's body was found in a park earlier this month. The investigation started April 2nd when a body was found at Pier 4 Park. The homicide unit was called in because the death was deemed suspicious. The victim was identified as 50-year-old Jason Gallant of Hamilton. Last night, police say they arrested 36-year-old Michael Castiglione of Hamilton on a charge of second-degree murder. They say the suspect and victim knew each other.
Still ahead, getting set for Game 1 in Boston. The Toronto Maple Leafs are preparing for their first-round series against the Bruins, and their fans are ready to cheer them on at home. But first, outside we go for a first look at the forecast. The weekend is here, the rain and the cloud. It's really pushed out, making for a lovely Friday night. Lovely conditions if you have plans. We are not completely through with the rain yet, but we're pretty close. Jessica Smith is here with a look at the current conditions. Jess.
So close. The bulk of that shower activity we had this morning that really caused a soggy drive-in for many has pushed its way east, primarily into eastern Ontario as we get into that end of our day. We've got that sunshine out there and a beautiful evening ahead of us. We are watching for the chance of a little instability tomorrow morning, but for now we're holding on to some sunny conditions. Temperature-wise, it is still quite warm. We're at 15 through Windsor, 14 in Hamilton, 12 in Niagara, the same in Peterborough. Everybody kind of comfortably in that low to mid double-digit range. In towards the island, we're sitting at 15, a bit of a gusty westerly wind, west-northwesterly down towards Pearson, but regardless, it's still kind of in that very seasonal range. Into this evening, just shy of seasonal, a little bit of cloud cover, and that's what leads to some of the active weather as we head into at least the start of the day tomorrow. Coming up, a full look at your long-range forecast. But right now, I'll send things back over to Nathan.
Thank you, Jess. Still to come tonight, the TTC's warning of service disruptions as early as next week if a deal can't be reached with one of its unions. The latest on negotiations just ahead.
Right now, Leafs Nation is full of anticipation. Playoff season begins tomorrow in Boston.
Fans are hoping the added toughness and experience on this year's team will help them take down the big bad Bruins. CTV's Mike Walker is live outside Scotiabank Arena tonight with the latest. Mike.
Well, Nathan, Michelle, the atmosphere here tomorrow is expected to be electric with thousands of fans watching the game on the big screen behind me. But they are nervous because the Bruins have had the Leafs number all season long, but they believe the Leafs have the offense and grit to come out on top. The final touches are being made for the tailgate party at Maple Leaf Square as Leaf fans stock up on merchandise on the eve of Game 1 against the Boston Bruins.
Boston's going to underestimate Toronto, and I think Toronto has got a team built for the playoffs this year.
I think our team is a lot stronger, a lot grittier, and I think we have a good chance.
Leafs Nation optimistic but also nervous. A seventh game win against Toronto. The Bruins have won 6 straight playoff series against Toronto.
Another heartbreak in Boston,
including that epic Game 7 collapse in 2013.
It's going to be a tough matchup. You know, Boston, they're good.
I think it's a different season. Some good new additions on the team. Again, anything can happen.
The square is quiet today, but tomorrow thousands will gather here to watch the series opener in Boston on the big screen outside Scotiabank Arena. Teresa watches every game in the square, hoping for a victory celebration.
What do you enjoy about it?
Atmosphere. People coming and enjoying.
In order to attend the tailgate parties, you must register on the Leafs app for free passes.
Each individual is going to get access to 2 passes that are non-transferable. Gates will open 2 hours before puck drop.
New this year are Go Leafs Go transit trains along the lakeshore lines, an interactive passion meter plus.
If you want to bring an article of clothing from home and turn it into a one-of-a-kind Leafs merchandise, we have something called Make It Merch, which is a new pop-up this year.
As excitement builds here, the Leafs practicing in Boston this afternoon, preparing to go against a tough Bruins team that won all 4 regular season games.
Both 2 good teams, and I'm sure they're going to prepare just like we are for them, and looking forward to the challenge. It's going to be a lot of fun.
We're equipped with lots of different options, lots of depth scoring, lots of competitiveness and grit, physicality and toughness, and just excited to get going.
Former captain and legend Wendell Clark says this roster has what it takes to prevail.
Our best players are at the right age. They're not rookies, they're not old, and this is their time.
Excitement building as the quest for the Cup begins.
6 games, Toronto.
With Toronto looking to win its first playoff series against the Bruins since 1959. Now, all of the passes for tomorrow's tailgate have been claimed. The first two games of this series will be played in Boston and then returns here to Scotiabank Arena next Wednesday and Saturday. Reporting live, I'm Mike Walker. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Mike. The TTC is warning of possible service disruptions next week if a deal can't be reached with one of its employee unions. CUPE Local 2 represents more than 600 communications, electrical, and signal workers at the transit agency. It's already set a strike deadline of 12:01 a.m. Monday. TTC CEO Rick Leary says both sides are still at the table, and it's unlikely a deal won't get done. But in the event of job action, employees and customers will get details on potential impacts as soon as possible.
In the meantime, riders on the TTC's Line 2 will be facing another weekend without subway service to a number of stops. Saturday and Sunday, trains will not operate between Woodbine and Kennedy stations to accommodate track work. Shuttle buses will be running, and the full line will reopen 6 a.m. Monday.
And if you're hopping on the GO Trains Lakeshore West Line this weekend, you'll want to check your schedules. Metrolink says trains will run hourly to accommodate some track work at Exhibition GO and other maintenance between Mimico and Port Credit. Service impacts will start late tonight. Regular service resumes Monday.
Your drive along Toronto roads could soon be a little less bumpy. The city is launching another pothole blitz this weekend. More than 130 staff on 36 crews will work a 12-hour shift tomorrow, aimed at keeping expressways, major roads, and neighborhood streets in a good state of repair. The effort will focus on King Street, Scarborough North, and Etobicoke North, as well as Northwestern, North York. The city is asking other road users to give crews the space they need to work.
They are a vital part of making the $10 a day childcare program viable, and they've been waiting months for a promised pay bump.
Tonight, some relief for Ontario's registered early childhood educators. The Ministry of Education says that money is coming. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris has the story.
It was an announcement that filled registered early childhood educators with hope.
This represents a 19% increase.
A pay bump for RECEs to attract and keep them in the profession, to ensure the $10 a day childcare program is viable. Workers were expecting a raise in January. Now, well into April,
RECEs have not seen their wage increase yet.
The Minister of Education has boasted about the size of the increase, moving the minimum wage from $19 an hour to almost $24 this year.
Many early childhood educators are working second jobs. They're relying on support from family members. We don't understand why this has taken so long.
The opposition pressed the government on that question earlier this week.
We've heard they're going to raise them. Tell us when, and so that people can look forward to an increase in their pay packages.
In the legislature, Stephen Lecce didn't make the timeline explicit, but says he appreciates the work of RECEs.
We'll increase wages by $1 per hour per year every year over the course of this agreement. We have ensured wage parity. We've now moved from one of the lowest levels to the median average.
The government hasn't been able to explain the holdup, but there are lots of steps with funding flowing from Ottawa to the province, to municipalities, to care providers, and then into the bank accounts of workers. The ministry expects daycares to give workers that extra pay by the end of the month. In a statement, a spokesperson for the Minister of Education writes in part, "We appreciate that these payments must get out as quickly as possible. That is why we are working with municipalities to ensure all eligible RECEs receive their full back pay and wage increases."
It's important that RECEs know that they will receive it back paid till January. But in terms of life and planning and affordability, waiting and the uncertainty of it has been really stressful.
Siobhan Morris, CTV News.
And speaking of compensation concerns, many Ontario healthcare workers are getting another pay raise. 65,000 hospital workers will receive a 6% wage increase over the next 2 years, as well as improvements to benefits and extra pay for weekends and night shifts. This is all under a new deal between CUPE, the SEIU, and the Ontario Hospital Association. There will also be mandatory reporting around the use of agency nurses, which unions have argued undercut their workers, cost more, and are a Band-Aid solution to a staffing crisis.
This comes as the Ontario Nurses Association says it's reached an impasse in efforts to reach a new contract for members working at for-profit nursing homes. The ONA says collective bargaining for registered nurses and healthcare professionals broke down early with no deal in place. The union has cited concerns around pay, staffing, and working conditions. The Ministry of Long-Term Care said it's not involved in the bargaining process, but encourages both sides to reach a deal.
Canada's premiers have fired a new salvo in their jurisdictional battle with the federal government. The provincial and territorial leaders sent a letter to Justin Trudeau. They are warning him against overreach into their jurisdictions. The premiers are worried measures in this week's federal budget will be downloaded onto them. Housing is another concern raised in the letter. The premiers want more flexibility, saying they need to play a major role.
When I hear provinces upset because we're signing deals with big cities, putting money in the city's coffers so that they can increase density, so they can build more homes faster, invest in affordability, I know that's what needs to happen. And provinces that are not being ambitious on housing, well, people in their provinces still deserve to have solutions to the housing crisis, even if the province doesn't want to step up with the same level of ambition.
The PM says he always prefers to work with the provinces, but will go around them if necessary. The Premier's letter also calls for more spending on Arctic security in the Canadian military, as well as flexible infrastructure funding.
Meanwhile, the federal Liberals want the big banks to identify the carbon rebate by name when doing direct deposits. If not, the Environment Minister says he'll change the law. The first deposits in 2022 were labeled generically. Stephen Guilbeault insists this lack of a clear identifier is contributing to confusion. A couple of the banks are already identifying the rebate as outlined by the government. Two others say they couldn't do it in time for the rollout, and one bank is still calling it Deposit Canada.
Israel and Iran may have stepped back from another dangerous escalation of their conflict.
Iran has indicated it will not retaliate after an apparent limited Israeli attack overnight. Israel has not commented, and Iran is playing down the incident. CTV's Adrian Gabriel reports.
Flashes of light in the night sky, one of the few recordings of what the U.S. are calling an airstrike by Israel deep within Iran.
Israel had to respond in some way, and their war cabinet was clear on this.
The so-called attack centered around the Iranian city of Isfahan, home to a large air base, as well as part of Iran's nuclear program. This morning, troops were seen stationed at the Iranian facility. High above, these satellite images show that there doesn't appear to be any large craters or damage at the Isfahan base, though the targeted location has caught the attention of Middle East analysts.
Basically, that is a clear message to the Iranian regime that Israel can operate anywhere, anytime.
The entire region has been bracing itself following Saturday's first ever attack by Iran inside Israel. Attending the G7 ministers' meeting in Italy, Secretary of State Antony Blinken confirmed the U.S. did not take part in the reported airstrikes inside Iran.
Our focus has been on, of course, making sure that Israel can effectively defend itself, but also de-escalating tensions, avoiding conflict.
Israel has yet to comment on the reported military operation, and Iran has not identified the source of the strike, leaving some to believe this may actually be the beginning of a de-escalation between the two historic enemies.
What we're seeing here, hopefully, is the reestablishment of the status quo antebellum, if you will, the status quo before all of this activity started, and that we can return to the shadow war that Israel and Iran have been conducting for decades.
This is all taking place while a very real, deadly fight continues in Gaza. According to the Hamas-run health authority, more than 40 Palestinians have been killed there in just the last 24 hours. Adrian Gabriel, CTV News, Toronto.
In New York, jury selection at the Donald Trump so-called hush money trial has been completed. 12 people and 6 alternates were seated today, setting the stage for opening statements on Monday. The jury includes a sales professional, a software engineer, an English teacher, and multiple lawyers. The former U.S. president's been charged with falsifying business records to suppress stories about alleged sexual encounters that emerged during the 2016 election campaign. An appeals court refused to delay the trial over defense complaints about the jury selection.
More than 10% of the world's population have begun casting their ballots. A 6-week-long election in India is underway. Nearly 970 million voters will elect more than 540 members to the lower house of parliament. The second round will be held on April 26th, and turnout is due to increase over the course of the voting. The election is seen as a referendum on populist Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He is seeking a rare third term as leader.
Romanian circus artists carried out a surprise performance at the Bucharest airport. 80 performers from the Bucharest Metropolitan Circus entertained people at the arrivals terminal. It's the first time such an event's been staged in Romania. It was held in honor of World Circus Day, which is tomorrow.
Coming up, honoring those who pick up the phone when you call 911. Tonight, how new technology is helping 911 operators in Peel Region.
And I'm Pat Foran. Coming up on Consumer Alert, many people will be spending this weekend getting their lawn ready for another spring and summer. How can you make your grass the envy of the neighborhood? And have you heard of No Mow May? We can tell you what that's about. I'll have my reports just ahead.
And whether you're working on the grass at home or at the cottage, forecast-wise, not too bad. A little shower activity over towards Muskoka more so on Sunday, but a beautiful weekend if you want to get out to maybe prep the cottage for the days ahead. Coming up, I'll have a full look at your long-range forecast here at home, and stay with us. We've got another full night of great shows for you right here on CTV.
We've certainly had a lot of rainfall in April, so if you have a lawn, it's probably nice and green, but it may still need some work.
Right. Many people will be raking, fertilizing, and seeding their lawns this weekend in hopes to be the envy of the neighborhood. Here's Pat Foran and Consumer Alert. Pat.
Thanks, Nathan and Michelle. If you're worried the grass could be greener on the other side of the fence, you may be spending time trying to make your lawn look its best. There's also a movement called No Mow May, which is supposed to help bees and other insects, but experts say for lawns, it's not a good idea. If your lawn looks patchy, is covered with leaves and other debris, and has weeds popping up through it, you're not alone. Most lawns require a cleanup after winter to get them ready for spring. To give your lawn a good head start in the spring, you really only need two things: a rake and a bag of fertilizer. You'll want to clean up messy garden beds, dead plants, leftover leaves, sticks, and limbs. It's best to clear the debris before your first mow.
You want to clear them before grass starts growing in the spring. That's because if you have a dense bed of leaves anywhere on your lawn, it's actually going to block out the sunlight and keep the grass from growing properly.
Another step to get a thick, lush lawn: overseeding.
The best thing actually right now is to do some seeding. Just overseeding with whichever species is best for your lawn.
Sarah Stricker is with the Guelph Turfgrass Institute. We asked her about No Mow May. It's an idea that started in the UK to let grass and ditches grow throughout May, so small flowering plants could create pollinators for insects. Well, it's an interesting idea. Stricker says for lawns, it's not practical.
We're just saying that consider buying a flower pot instead and mow your lawn, because your lawn grows best when it's cut regularly based on its growth rate.
You may want to raise the mower deck higher to let your grass grow longer, as taller grass has deeper roots. Set your mower to mulch, as the clippings provide nutrients to your lawn. Clear the grass that's stuck under your mower deck. Using silicone spray can help keep clippings from sticking. And if it's been a while, consider getting your mower blade sharpened. Taking these steps could help you have a lawn that's the envy of the neighborhood. And the latest tests show battery-powered lawnmowers continue to get better each year. Many have run times of over an hour. You also don't need to mess with oil and gas, which is good for the environment and also your wallet. On your side, I'm Pat Foran.
If you have a consumer story idea, email us at alert@ctv.ca.
The first people who pick up the phone when someone calls 911 are being honored this week. It is National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. The occasion is meant to recognize the work done by those who handle calls for police, fire, and paramedics. And the week has special significance in Peel, where the region's 911 communications center is rolling out a new system meant to make operations more efficient.
What this week also means to us is the introduction of new technology that reduces that. 40% of the people that call 911 is misuse. It's a pocket dial, hang up, and the public doesn't realize that every one of those calls requires a phone back, which is about 1,500 calls a month. A human had to call everybody back on a pocket dial, whether it was your watch or your phone, and the new technology allows us to do that in an automated fashion, which helps save us a tremendous amount of time.
Peel Police note the region's communications center is the second biggest in Canada and one of the busiest in North America.
Toronto's mayor is putting out the calls for people to help clean up the city this weekend.
Every year we pull up our sleeve to pick up that litter. It's about time for spring cleaning.
Community volunteers as well as city staff will be out this weekend cleaning up the city's parks, beaches, and streets. Last year, city trucks carried away 977 metric tons of litter in the spring cleanup. There will be street vacuumers out, as well as crews cleaning up graffiti and removing abandoned bicycles.
Such a great idea. My kids did this at their school today because this time of year, when the green is not fully out, it can be pretty ugly out there with all the trash and stuff. It's nice to get things nice and clear.
Yeah, I'm thinking backyards as well. A lot of times, all that
the
dirt
debris,
mess
the sticks
accumulates, and you finally have to deal with it during the spring, right?
And it's been a windy couple of days, so there's a lot of garbage that may have been kind of settled in one spot that's pushed around. So it's a great weekend to get out and do it. You should just do it all the time. Anyways, got to clean up them streets. The weather this weekend will be really nice to get out and do that, or just to spend some time outdoors. It's been a challenging week. We've had a lot of rain, not a ton of sunshine. We're not done with the active weather completely, but the bulk of the really heavy stuff, it's gone. Weather is brought to you by Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. It's hard to stop a train. It's a tale of two forecasts as we've gotten through the end of our day today. We had the rain and the wind this morning. This afternoon, this evening, the sun came out and made for a really beautiful second half to our Friday. Still a little breezy out there, but the sunshine definitely helping to warm things up and a fairly seasonal end to the day. We're sitting at 14 through Windsor, the same here in the city. Out towards Ottawa, still in the double digits at 11. Through Northern Ontario, relatively mild. So if you are heading to a cottage this weekend, it won't be terribly warm outside, but a great weekend to kind of get those nitty-gritty things done and kind of clean some things up. Heading into the evening, we're pretty close to seasonal. It's been a really warm few days. Tonight, back to where we should be. We're looking at the cloud cover returning, though, as we head through the overnight. We'll be at 3 here in the city, 1 through Waterloo, a little cooler along the eastern shorelines of Lake Huron and Georgian Bay, but really and truly, it's a beautiful end to the week, considering how yucky it was this morning. Getting into our Saturday, again, we're a little below seasonal. The cloud cover rolls in and stays there. The bulk of what's going to bring the chance of active weather is nowhere near us tomorrow. It's the tail end of a low that's going to be moving through northern Ontario. But into our second half of our Saturday, much like today, we get a bit of a clearing. So 9 for the high for us here in the city. We should be at 13, but we're kind of in and around that seasonal range. Almost an identical forecast right around the Golden Horseshoe. A little cooler, but not by much through Goderich and Owen Sound. There's that line of showers. We had that first wave the day before. We had a bit of a break yesterday, and then today we had that second wave. So that's pushing out, and behind it, almost a little bit of clearing. The chance of rain tomorrow comes from this low through northern Ontario. The cold front that extends down off of it, that's going to sweep across the Great Lakes and bring the chance for maybe a scattered shower or two. But for tonight, it's not our problem. It's going to be really nice outside, relatively clear until about 10 p.m. Then the cloud cover moves in. It's very scattered, very light in nature. The rain that is going to make its way throughout southern Ontario tomorrow and for the GTA. And then as we head into the afternoon, early evening, that's when that pushes out and a little bit of late day sunshine possible. Getting into Sunday, though, that's when the sun comes out. So the sun won't fully come out tomorrow, but it will come out on Sunday. And then temperature-wise, we get back towards a much more seasonal mark as we head in towards the end of our weekend. As we get in through our Saturday, Sunday, again, a little cooler into Saturday. We'll see that chance of showers kind of in the first half of the day and then really nice into the afternoon through Sunday. Very seasonal for the high. It does get a little cool, though, into the evening, both Saturday and Sunday. So just keep that in mind. Say if you're heading out towards Maple Leaf Square to watch the Leafs, it is going to be a little cooler, but as we head in towards Monday, things start to rebound a little bit. We are below seasonal for our high to start off a brand new week, but overnight, sitting around 4, so very, very seasonal. There's another round of showers. April's just doing its thing, living up to its name, April showers, May flowers. So we have more rain on the way as we head in towards Tuesday, Wednesday. Not a washout by any means, but just plan ahead, give yourself extra time for that commute. And then through your Thursday, your Friday, seasonal, sunny, and fantastic to spend some time outside. So as we kind of tiptoe in towards the end of April, we're seeing more traditional spring-like forecasts, and it makes it really nice to get out and enjoy the weather. Hopefully this helps you plan as you kind of settle into your weekend. Right now, I'll send things back over to Nathan.
Thank you, Jess. Also tonight, a guitar lover's dream. Randy Bachman is parting ways with hundreds of his signature guitars. The key pieces and their musical history in moments. People usually think of cancer treatment as surgery, chemotherapy, or radiation.
But there's another type of treatment that many say doesn't receive enough attention. Our health reporter Pauline Chan explains.
I was always a happy-go-lucky person, I would say. Like, I loved life.
But for John Zeus Chocolatidis, his battle for mental well-being has been almost as great as his battle with cancer.
I was diagnosed with stage 4 lymphoma in 2019. And when I received that cancer diagnosis, I was unprepared. My cancer journey was like littered with unexpected landmines. That's the only way that I can describe it. And then in 2020, when the COVID pandemic hit, my treatments were disrupted.
He says he was fortunate to be offered programs like Wellspring, Gilda's Club, and cancer rehab at Princess Margaret as soon as he was diagnosed. But he knows that's not the case for many patients.
There's marginalized communities, lack of affordable care, and everything like that that we face.
Issues that are experienced at higher rates by patients with cancer, including depression, anxiety, insomnia, and some of the other concerns that are often brought up, which include issues of low appetite and low energy.
Can mental wellness influence cancer outcomes?
I don't know of any evidence that shows that mental health concerns or impact outcomes like in that sort of way, but the way I think about quality of life as important of an outcome.
Chocolatidis has a hope for others.
When they have their diagnosis, to ask about mental health support if they're not being offered.
He's still fighting his cancer, but with all the physical and mental resources he can. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
Taylor Swift fans got an extra helping of new music overnight as she revealed her hotly awaited The Tortured Poets Department is actually a double album. And for a fortnight there we were forever running. The Grammy winner will release a music video for her song Fortnight featuring Post Malone at 8 p.m. It's just one of 31 tracks on the full version of her 11th studio album, which has been described as synth pop. In typical Swiftie fashion, fans are closely analyzing all the lyrics to guess who Swift might be singing about.
An iconic Canadian musician is auctioning off some of the instruments that shaped his legendary career. Randy Bachman is putting 200 of his signature guitars up for sale next month. The collection includes the 1959 Gibson Les Paul the Winnipeg-born musician crafted the smash hit American Woman on. It's expected to fetch up to $400,000. Bachman is also selling a 1957 Sunburst Harmony Acoustic, which is the first guitar he ever owned.
Just over a week after its debut, Amazon Prime is renewing its streaming adaptation of a smash hit video game series.
A rough week. Practically every person I've met up here has tried to kill me.
Fallout is set in the United States after it's been devastated by a nuclear war. The series follows a survivor who grew up underground trying to make her way into a dangerous new world. Prime Video says the show is already among its top 3 most watched titles, and it will be ordering a second season.
The organizers of the Cannes Film Festival revealed the official poster for this year's event. It features a scene from Rhapsody in August by late filmmaker Akira Kurosawa. Organizers say they wanted to highlight cinema role as a universal sanctuary for expression and sharing. The Cannes Festival this week also said it will present an honorary Palme d'Or to Japanese anime house studio Ghibli, marking the first time it's given that award to a company instead of an individual.
As some new movies hit theaters, it could be a photo finish for #1 at the weekend box office.
Guys.
Ooh, Deadline reports vampire film Abigail is in a close race with fellow 14A film Civil War, as Thursday night preview figures show they could each bring in around $11 million US over the coming days. Period action movie The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare is expected to place a close third.
Also tonight, if you think there's sticker shock now, a new report's predicting the average price of a home in Toronto in 10 years. And it's a doozy.
Celebrating Earth Day. From fashion to some food for thought, we'll focus on some of the efforts to help protect the planet.
CP24 Breakfast, where Toronto gets its everything every morning.
The question for the jury here really is whether, in addition to being a tragic situation, what happened here is also a crime.
Updating our top stories, jurors in the trial of Umar Zameer continuing their deliberations tonight. Within the past hour, they came back with another question for the judge. Jurors began their deliberations last night.
Boston's going to underestimate Toronto, and I think Toronto has got a team built for the playoffs this year.
I think our team is a lot stronger, a lot grittier, and I think we have a good chance.
Getting ready for Game 1, Toronto Maple Leafs fans are gearing up for the start of the playoffs. The Leafs begin their run for the Stanley Cup against the Bruins tomorrow night in Boston.
We've heard they're going to raise them. Tell us when, and so that people can look forward to an increase in their pay packages.
And waiting for a wage increase. Ontario's registered early childhood educators say they're still waiting for a promised pay bump. The province says the money is on the way.
Remember to keep up to date day and night through our website, ctvnewstoronto.ca, and by downloading the CTV News app. And if you ever have a news tip, photos, or video breaking news, let us know.
U.S. stocks came under pressure again today. Andrew Bell of B&M Bloomberg has the latest in business.
Hello there. Weakness in the giant technology companies helped to push America's S&P 500 stock benchmark down for a 6th day in a row. The bellwether dropped below the 5,000 mark, curbing its year-to-date gain to just over 4% as traders avoided riskier assets. Inflation is still high, and there are niggling worries that the Federal Reserve will actually increase interest rates this year. America's reluctance to reduce rates creates a problem for the Bank of Canada, which is getting closer to its own reductions. Governor Tiff Macklem has kept the door open to easing as early as June. But the cuts could be limited because a growing gap between the two countries' interest rates is likely to push down the Canadian dollar, which is stuck below 73 cents US. A weak loonie means higher import costs, risking higher inflation. And finally, Netflix shares tumbled almost 10%, even though the streaming giant added more than 9 million net new subscribers in its latest 3 months. But investors were not delighted to hear that the company will stop reporting subscriber numbers in 2025, saying it has too many tiers to make the numbers useful. The company warned that customer gains, which were fueled in the latest 3 months by the crackdown on password sharing, have slowed. On the markets, the Canadian dollar traded at 72.72 US cents, up about 1/10 cent. WTI oil, North America's benchmark, changed hands at $82.22, up 12 cents. Western Canadian Select oil was at $69.21, up 4 cents. And the TSX Composite ended at 21,807.37, up just over 98 points. That's the latest in business. I'm Andrew Bell of B&M Bloomberg.
The Business Report is brought to you by Canadian Western Bank, the bank built for business.
A new report suggests the average price of a home in Toronto could hit $2 million within a decade. Data analysis by Zoocasa shows average home prices in 43% of the city's neighborhoods eclipsed the $2 million mark over the past 2 years. It expects that figure to become the average selling price by the year 2034. However, the report says that mark could be reached even faster if home prices increase as interest rates decline.
Gas prices did drop 4 cents a liter, and that's after prices shot up 14 cents a liter Thursday. The price at the pumps now sits at just shy of $1.75.9 at most stations. That's still the highest price Ontario drivers have seen in almost 2 years. Oil companies say the increase is mostly due to the switch from winter to summer gas blends.
Amid the improving spring weather, more people will be taking their drones out for a flight.
Tonight, a reminder there are rules around where you can fly after a fatal accident. CTV's Tyler Fleming has the story.
A bird's eye view of the ground is easy with a drone, and the market for flying them, whether personal use or by professionals, has exploded. The commercial market in 2022 was estimated at $20 billion.
This is everything from using sensors to measure things from the ground that would most likely use or have needed a helicopter in the past.
But there's rules for a drone in flight.
Safety is going to be your number one concern, and it's safety for the people on the ground.
Are these batteries full?
Alicia Krolak and Alexander Schmidt operate Swift Drone Academy to provide drone users knowledge and, depending on the drone's weight, a license.
If your drone is 250 grams or more, you require one of the two. So the basic certification and the advanced certification.
This allows users in some cases to create flight plans which operate inside controlled zones like airports, which typically have a near 6-kilometer no-fly radius. What weight is this drone here?
249 grams.
For these, a license is not required, but there are laws. A drone must fly where you can see it, cannot go above 122 meters, and has to be kept at a safe distance during events like a concert or parade.
Your drone likely can't fly over people regardless of what certificate you have.
Privacy is a huge concern with these drones, that you have a camera that could shoot anything.
This includes police crime or collision scenes. On Thursday, after a fatal collision on Highway 417, a drone captured graphic photos which were posted to social media and seen by the victim's family.
When police arrive to tell someone that a loved one has been killed, we offer services. You see it suddenly pop up on your social media feed, you're on your own. And it makes a terrible situation that much worse.
In this circumstance, not only is drone use prohibited, there is an increased danger.
The drone might interfere with life-saving activities. The rules for flying where you're not supposed to be, it's up to $1,000.
Drone use is regulated by Transport Canada. However, municipalities may have specific guidelines. Tyler Fleming, CTV News.
The organizers of the Olympics unveiled their plans on using artificial intelligence in sports today.
The IOC wants to set the course for the AI future of sport with responsible leadership by embracing the change while preserving the Olympic values.
The International Olympic Committee will be using the technology to protect athletes from online harassment and help broadcasters improve the viewing experience for people at home. They'll also be using AI-powered cameras to flag potential security risks. The Paris Olympics are set to kick off in just under 100 days.
Former Toronto Maple Leaf GM Kyle Dubas has been named to Team Canada's front office. Dubas will be an associate general manager for the World Hockey Championship. It will be his international debut. Canada plays its first game May 11th against the UK in Prague, Czechia. Dubas recently completed his first season as GM and president of hockey operations for the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Just ahead, you could say a little snow is in the forecast. The Toronto Zoo announces a snow leopard baby is on the way, and they have a plan to hopefully breed success. Details coming up.
Tonight, a superstar's 2 a.m. surprise. Swifties score with Taylor's new album drop that came with a thrilling twist. What critics are saying about it later on CTV National News.
And a reminder, the CTV News at 6 podcast is available as a download every weeknight, and a special What's Goody to those of you listening to the newscast live on News Talk 1010.
Hi, Hi, Toronto. I'm Teddy Wilson.
And I'm Nicole Servinas. Welcome to Things to Know TO.
Each week, this show shines a spotlight on a wide variety of local businesses, services, events, and initiatives from across the Greater Toronto Area.
These companies are part of what makes Toronto one of the world's most vibrant cities and a great place to live, work, and play.
Join us every week on Saturday mornings for Things to Know TO.
And don't forget to visit our website, thingstoknowto.ca, to check out all of our great content.
There will hopefully soon be an extremely cute and rare new addition or additions to the Toronto Zoo. The zoo's 2 snow leopards successfully mated, and Gita is now an expectant mother. Father Pemba was only recently brought to Toronto as part of a recommendation from the Snow Leopard Species Survival Plan. The pair was introduced in February, and it was apparently love at first sight. The birth is expected sometime in May, but zoo officials warn first-time pregnancies can be challenging and there could be medical complications. Let's hope all goes well.
Yeah. Hopefully things will work out. Also, hopefully all goes well with the weather this weekend.
Yeah, it's going to be nice. Listen, it's been a challenging week. We had a really beautiful start, and we had that rain that really brought a ton. We've already surpassed our monthly rainfall total and then some. So as we get into the weekend, finally a bit of a break. There are a few maybe light scattered showers to start the day tomorrow, but overall, fantastic as we wrap things up today and step in towards the weekend. Temperature-wise, it's mild. We're still in that kind of mid-teen range for the most part. Really beautiful if you want to get out, go for a walk, toss the football around, have some fun. It is a reminder, though, Monday is Earth Day. It'll be pretty nice outside, a southwesterly wind. If you can get out, enjoy the sunshine. I recommend it. Overall, as we head into the next 7 days, a very typical spring-like forecast. Enjoy the sunny days while we have them, and then appreciate the rainy ones because those are necessary, too. I'll send things back to you guys.
Sounds like a plan. Thank you, Jessica. That's it for us, but be sure to join Heather Butts tonight at 11 for CTV National News, followed by Zoraida Allman with our next local newscast at 11:30.
In the meantime, our coverage continues anytime on CP24 and online at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Jessica Smith and all of us here at CTV News, thank you for watching and have a great weekend.